Well, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 21 of The Eagle's Nest. And we're talking about the audio retelling of Charlie Suprasinski's great book, Soaring with the Eagles, the Copper Peak Story. And we're back in 1978. Where were you in 1978 and what were you doing? Well, anyway, on the Gogebic Range, excitement ran high throughout the area when it was learned that two local skiers, John Coos and Dave Engstrom, would be flying the peak. Both skiers had to earn their wings by demonstrating they could handle the larger hills throughout the country. In a most remarkable run, John Coos captured 7 first places in the veterans class in tournaments leading up to the ski flying meet at Copper Peak. This included a setting of a new distance record of 281 feet in the veterans class at Leavenworth, Washington, and later breaking his own record at Iron Mountain with a leap of 292 feet. John also placed third in the Nationals at Leavenworth in the veterans class. Dave Engstrom, a close friend of John Coos and able competitor, was always vying with John for top honors in many meets. At the time, both skiers were unlikely candidates because of their age. John was age 29 and Dave was 34, and both were competing in the veterans class. Most ski jumpers had retired by that age, but the two skiers were a determined lot and rose to the challenge. Engstrom would be the first local down the giant slide, qualifying as a forerunner, and Coos would perform as a competitor. John tried to explain his success in an interview with Daily Globe reporter Ron Trethaway on Thursday, March 2nd, 1978, which was the first practice day at Copper Peak. Here's what John said, quote, "I really feel fortunate to get this chance considering that I haven't had the formal ski jumping instructions that would be available if I were on a national jumping team. However," Coos added, "I've had a lot of people encourage me in the field of ski jumping, from my dad right on down to members of the Gogebic Range Ski Club. Without their encouragement and hard work, I wouldn't have had the desire or a facility from which to do that. Without the efforts of my uncle, Wally Coos, Bob Shea, and others, there wouldn't be a new Wolverine Hill. By getting Wolverine back on its feet again, they gave hope for the revival of ski jumping on the Gogebic Range," Coos said. "I also have to mention the help given to me by Central Division coaches Ed Brisson, Brady Emerson, Keith Zulke, and Gerald Falk. Their suggestions helped me with my technique." Coos said his improvements over the last year can be traced to equipment, particularly new boots, which have given him far greater control over his skis. "This is a dream come true for me," related Coos, "getting my first opportunities to ski fly and to be able to do so in front of the home folks. It's unreal." Undoubtedly, there is more to John Coos' success than has been mentioned. Ski jumping is 80% mental, and he was able to successfully image his takeoffs, the most crucial part of the flight, to put him quickly and energetically into the flight path. One cannot be timid on the takeoff. Timing is crucial. To be successful, one must approach the takeoff with absolute confidence and be aggressive with an up-and-out thrust into the flight path. Probably the first time in his long career, John was able to master the proper takeoff technique. But there's a second reason for his success, most likely only an outside viewer could reveal. It is the opinion of Charlie Suprasinski that John Coos developed a less pronounced version of the V-style, a style used exclusively today. The V-style is inherently a much more stable flying platform, and because of the additional lift, helped to produce the long flights John was able to reach. This is a style even he was unaware of initially until he found himself often out-jumping his opponents only to lose on style points. Parallel skis in flight was the standard by which judges scored style points, and John was consistently marked down because he didn't meet their standard. Take a look at the front cover of Johnny Coos flying at Copper Peak with a smaller version of the V-style. This is on our YouTube page as you start to look at an episode. So now let's take a closer look at ski flying at the Copper Peak meet of 1978. 32 skiers representing 11 countries would participate in that meet. USA 12, Austria 4, Japan 4, East Germany 2, Norway 2, Finland 2, Yugoslavia 2, Switzerland 2, West Germany 1, Canada had 1. Once again, weather conditions would allow 4 days of flying. Thursday, March 2nd, was largely a practice day, but would be used to set the order of the skiers for competition on Friday, with the best skiers starting last. The wide range of distances recorded on Thursday encouraged most officials to break the field into 2 groups. Group 1, consisting of 19 skiers, would start at a lower gate than the 13 skiers in Group 2. For many of the competitors, it was their first opportunity to ski fly. Because of the concurrent flying meet at Kulm, Austria, relatively few of the top flyers in the world competed at Copper Peak. Group 2 would not be eligible to enter the winner's circle. 3 days of competition were utilized to determine winners, with the best 2 of 3 jumps counting on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Henry Glass of East Germany was the overall winner, with teammate Jochen Dannenberg a distant second. They were followed by Klaus Tuscherer of Austria, Tom Leverstad of Norway, and Kalle Leppänen of Finland to round out the top 5. The best USA effort was Mike Deveka of Bend, Oregon, who placed 10th. Other top finishers in Group 1 were Jim Mackey, 18th, and Terry Kern, 19th. The longest jump of the meet was 151 meters, which is 495 feet, by Henry Glass, 10 feet short of the record. Group 2 winners were Oliver Favre of Switzerland, Mike Gabori, and John Broman of the USA. John Benzie, the other Upper Peninsula skier, placed 10th, while John Coos placed 12th in Class 2. By whatever criteria one can use to assess the 1978 ski flying competition, it had to be considered a huge success. The first ski flyers from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, John Coos, Dave Engstrom, and John Benzie, were responsible in part for attracting the largest crowd to attend a ski flying event at Copper Peak, estimated at 20,000 over the 4 days. At the annual meeting of the Gogebic Range Ski Club in April of 1978, in spite of record crowds and the income of $42,235 at the 78 meet at Copper Peak, the board was faced with some new challenges. After 8 years of wear, the chairlift cable needed to be replaced at a cost of $7,000, most likely the result of inadequate maintenance. The lift also needed painting. The FIS Hill certificate was about to expire. The landing hill needed to be reprofiled, and the judges' stand lowered on the hillside. The next date for ski flying would be in 1981. A 3-year wait because of the development of the 6th flying hill at Herachov, Czechoslovakia. The site needed a building for storage of equipment. Liability insurance, as always, for the chairlift was increasingly difficult to purchase, costing 3 times more than in the past. There would be no meets in 1979 and 80. In spite of a successful 78 tournament and a successful summer season in which some 8,000 visitors rode the chairlift and elevator ride to the top of the slide, the ski club found itself short on funds to start the 1979 summer season. Building a storage shed, replacing the cable on the chairlift, and refurbishing a bulldozer loaned to the corporation and damaged by fire were major expenses. So in 1980, the FIS recertification of Copper Peak was a major issue. If a ski flying event were to be held in 1981, a great deal of work had to be done to satisfy officials of FIS. It was the goal to dig out the flat of the landing by approximately 15 feet. This would effectively increase the landing hill by an additional 25 feet, increasing the K point to 165 meters. This would allow flights in the range of 540 feet. Additionally, the angle of the landing slope had to be decreased to 38.5 degrees, down from 41. Several other incidental but not necessary projects included constructing a computation room on top of the judge's stand, building a press building, installing a brass plaque honoring the 1970 and 1980 boards of directors, and installing a set of stairs along the north edge of the landing slope. The estimate of the cost of these projects was in the range of $150,000 to $200,000, money the corporation did not have. The largest of the projects, the digging and removal of some 15,000 cubic yards of dirt and moving several thousand yards of fill on the landing slope to decrease the angle of the incline, was the greatest challenge. A local contractor had been hired to move dirt on the hillside. Officials at the White Pine Copper Mine, located 45 miles east of Ironwood, were gracious enough to allow the use of 3 heavy pieces of earth-moving equipment. It is estimated that the corporation saved nearly $50,000 by this gracious gesture. Fill from the project was used to expand the VIP parking area surrounding the outrun area of the slide. To raise desperately needed resources for the several phases of the project, the board initiated a program to build a set of stairs along the north edge of the hill. Donations of $100 would be solicited for each step, and the name of the donor would be engraved. Nearly $25,000 was raised for the stair project, and some 370 steps were eventually installed. The board also approved borrowing up to $15,000 from each of the 2 local banks. In December of 1980, word was received that Miller Brewing Company would provide $25,000 in sponsorship for the 1981 ski flying meet. So, after 2 years of preparation and struggling to meet goals and objectives, 1981 was the year for the ski flying meet at Copper Peak. After a 3-year hiatus from the sport, a great deal of excitement permeated the community prior to the meet set for February 12th through the 15th. Nearly $135,000 had been spent on site improvements, including the digging out of the outrun to a depth of some 15 feet and flattening the slope by 2.5 degrees. The effect would be to increase the K point to 155 meters, thus allowing longer jumps. Hopes for running high for a new hill record being set. 43 skiers representing 9 nations would participate in the 7th ski flying meet at Copper Peak. This included 20 USA jumpers, in which 7 represented the U.S. ski team and 13 independents. France, Norway, West Germany, and Austria sent 4 skiers each. Yugoslavia, Switzerland, and Japan each sent 2 skiers, and Canada was represented by 1 skier. This would be the first ski flying experience for many of the competitors. Copper Peak would experience ski flying on 3 of the scheduled 4 days. Thursday, February 12th, a typical practice day, was described as follows. The Austrian favorites all declared that the grooming of the slope on the 120-meter hill was the best they had seen this season. Ironwood's John Coos, who was a forerunner grooming the slide and had jumped the hill over a score of times, said the hill was perfect and saw no reason the record of 505 feet set by Hans Georg Aschenbach shouldn't be rubbed out. Wind and warm weather would wipe out the competition on Sunday, so the scores earned on Friday, usually a practice day, were combined with Saturday's results to determine the overall winners. The Austrians dominated the event, capturing 3 of the top 5 places, with Alois Lippberger winning top honors, followed by his teammate Andreas Felder, who was second, and Fritz Koch, who was placed in 4th. John Broman of the USA had an excellent 3rd place finish. The Norwegians placed 4 in the top 10, with Ivor Mobeck earning 5th, Sveinung Kirkeland 7th, John Eilert Bogarth 8th, and Ole Erik Tvedt 10th. Rounding out the top 10 were Yugoslavia's Brane Benedict, who placed 6th, and Switzerland's Paul Egloff, who was 9th. The longest flight of the weekend was 505 feet, which is 154 meters, by Alois Lippberger, who tied the existing hill record. The 1981 meet generated nearly $128,000 in revenues from an estimated crowd in excess of 20,000 for the 3 days of competition. This included $25,000 from the event sponsor, Miller Lite Beer, and $7,000 for film rights. This was the most successful meet from a financial perspective, even though competition was cut short on Sunday due to warm weather. In spite of the large attendance at the meet, the revenues generated were just sufficient to cover meet expenses. The ski club still had outstanding notes of $20,000 at the local banks and were strapped for cash to start the 1981 summer season. Once again, the corporation would have to rely on summer revenues to satisfy their many obligations. This too was becoming more challenging as liability insurance was becoming more difficult and expensive to obtain, and the cost of employing a number of persons to run the summer program would leave relatively little profit. The board decided to contract with Handsome Prince to manage the chalet for the summer. By the end of the 1981 summer season, the ski club board found itself strapped for finances. Summer revenues reached some $24,289 when nearly 10,000 visitors rode the chairlift and elevator. Operating expenses resulted in a net gain of some $8,000, which was quickly expended to pay bills which continued to pour in from the 81 meet. There was virtually no money to underwrite the cost of a meet. The problem was recognized in midsummer of 1981, and final action was taken in October. The minutes of the ski club pointed out where it was everyone's feeling that the ski club can only host a ski flying event in 1982 if 3 things fall into place. 1, we get a sponsor with a substantial contribution. 2, we have TV coverage, and 3, we get good jumpers. The general feeling was that the present economy would not permit an expenditure of over $150,000 to put on a tournament with only $40,000 committed, and that was a potential sponsor. A roll call vote was taken. It was unanimously decided to scratch the tournament on Copper Peak for 1982 due to financial reasons. So, the no-go decision for 1982 was a difficult but practical decision for the Copper Peak board, but more storm clouds were on the horizon for the ski flying community. And that about does it for this edition of the Eagle's Nest. This is your narrator, Dan McMahon, inviting you to join us again for the next episode of the Eagle's Nest. The best way to see and hear us is to go to YouTube on your computer or your smartphone or on your smart TV and search Copper Peak Eagle's Nest. All of the episodes so far are there all the time. The episodes are numbered sequentially so that if you watch and listen to one and you want to go to the next episode, it'll start in about 4 seconds. Also, you can find us on the Copper Peak streaming site by using social media sites like Google and Yahoo and searching Copper Peak. Episodes play on the half hour. We're also on Copper Peak Radio 102.1 FM at 6:08 a.m. and p.m. and 11:08 a.m. and p.m. Central Time. Charlie's book, Soaring with the Eagles, the Copper Peak story, can be available at the Depot and the Downtown Art Place in Ironwood. Once again, thanks for joining us here on the Eagle's Nest. It's really appreciated, and we will see you the next time, and keep thinking Copper Peak.